So I come back to chat with my companions, and I immediately get greeted with, "I don't understand. You look like a woman," from Sten. So I guess that's why he was staring at me at the end of that last episode. I don't know. I am a woman.
You are a Grey Warden, so it follows that you can't be a woman.
Grey Wardens can't be women?
Women are priests, artisans, shopkeepers, or farmers. They don't fight.
It's not a universal truth. Some women fight.
Why would women ever wish to be men? That makes no sense.
They don't wish to be men, they wish to be women who fight.
Do they also wish to live on the moon? That's as attainable.
I'm a woman and I'm fighting.
One of those things can't be true. A person is born, Kunari or human or elven or dwarf. He doesn't choose that. The size of his hands, whether he is clever or foolish, the land he comes from, the color of his hair, these are beyond his control. We do not choose, we simply are.
But a person can choose what to do.
Can they? We'll see.
Well, I got some disapproval because I'm a woman who fights. Thanks, Sten. But we aren't done talking.
Why are we stopping?
I think we should talk for a moment.
There are darkspawn being fought. Is this delay needful?
Are you alright? You were in that cage for weeks.
You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight.
I've never seen a canary before. Tell me about your people.
No.
I wasn't expecting that.
Get used to disappointment. People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of, the elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty.
You said you were in the army? Let's try and be sly here.
I am.
Have you ever fought in a war?
I have always fought in war, human.
So you must know your way around the battlefield then?
Some of them. They aren't all alike.
Are you always this bad about answering questions?
Generally. I do not see how this matters. Seheron and Parvolan are distant. Ferelden and the Darkspawn are immediate.
What's your hurry?
What a strange language you speak. You say hurry, where I would say duty.
It's not your duty to handle the blight, though.
No, it is yours, and you are chatting with me instead.
It's the middle of the night, Sten. What do you want to do?
As you wish.
But he approves. I'm confused. What did I say right? I have no idea.
Yes.
What were you doing in that cage?
Sitting, as you observed.
Very funny.
Thank you.
You don't like me much, do you?
Warden, if I truly disliked you, I would leave. That I am still here, you may interpret however you choose.
Are you going to answer my question?
I did. Parshera, was there anything else?
I have a question.
I am hardly surprised.
Why'd you come to Ferelden?
To answer a question.
What was the question?
The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
What's an Arishok?
The one who commands the Antam, the body of the Kunari.
Why does he care about the blight?
Why do you?
Ferelden is my home.
So if this Blight were in Orlais, it could consume the land with impunity. Don't strain yourself pondering that. I do not know why the Arishok sent us. He commands and I go.
Did you find the answer to this question?
A portion of it.
What was the answer?
Were you not at Ostagar when the army was overwhelmed? That is your answer.
Why don't you report back then?
Yes.
So what are you still doing here?
I cannot go home.
Why not?
It doesn't matter now. Can we move on? We keep the darkspawn waiting.
Wanted to discuss something you mentioned.
Speak, then.
That's enough for now.
Then I suggest we move on.
I have a question?
I am
Maybe?
hardly surprised.
Actually, never mind.
Very
Okay.
well.
I think I got through all the things for right now.
As you wish.
And approval, thank God. I forgot what I was going to say. It's going to be something concerning this stuff. I guess since Alistair's right here.
What do you need?
Do you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
I just thought you might need to talk.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the blight and everything. I'm sorry.
No harm done, Alistair.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
He had you.
I suppose he did. It probably sounds stupid, but part of me wishes I was with him, in the battle. I feel like I abandoned him.
He saved your life by sending you to the tower.
Yes, I know. I think he came from Hyeva, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just...
My entire family was murdered just recently.
Oh, of course. How stupid of me to forget. Here I am going on and on about Duncan, and you... I am so sorry. Thank you. Really, I mean it. It was good to talk about it, at least a little.
Maybe I'll go to Highover with you when you go?
I'd like that. So would he, I think. What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
What can a Templar do exactly?
Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells.
I remember what I was going to say now. These episodes are going to last as long as it takes to talk to everyone, so for all I know, these could be 40-minute episodes. I thought, I probably should have mentioned that at the starting of the episode, but whatever. So, no, I don't want to ask that yet. So, Templars use magic themselves?
You could call it that, sure. The Chantry doesn't look on it the same way, however, since really our talents only work on mages. Against a regular person, I'm just a guy in a metal suit.
Have you hunted many mages?
No, I never actually became a full Templar. Duncan recruited me before I took my vows. I was only present during one harrowing. The ritual that they test the mages with. It's not unlike our joining, really. And just as deadly. The girl they tested, she had a demon put inside her to see if she could resist. And she couldn't. We had to end it quickly. I have to say I didn't have much interest in becoming a Templar after that.
Okay, in my opinion, the harrowing is a lot different than the joining. Because basically, you go into the fate as a mage, and you try to find a demon and kill it, or resist it, or whatever. and they hide as other things, and you don't know they're demons, so you'll help them by accident, and then a bunch of Templars kill you. That is nothing like the joining. Seems like Templars could run the Chantry.
You'd think that, but it's not so. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put two and two together.
So you were addicted to this lyrium?
Thankfully, no. You only start receiving lyrium once you've taken your vows. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templar's talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away, either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me. What do you need? Ask away.
Can you teach others to be a Templar?
I suppose I could. But I really would rather not. When the Grand Cleric let Duncan recruit me, she made me swear never to reveal Templar secrets outside of the Chantry. I'd rather not go back on my word.
Very well, I respect your word.
Ask me later, perhaps. Maybe I'll change my mind. This is not something small you're asking, after all. What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
Okay, now a tip if you're trying to be best buds with Alistair is never ask him this question again until you reach max affinity with him. Otherwise he'll get pissed at you. Tell me about the Grey Wardens.
Such as they are.
Where are the nearest Grey Wardens from here?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Is there headquarters somewhere?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt. Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
So what happens now that it's just the two of us?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Loghain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
Will we need to start rebuilding the Order?
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be two of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
What would happen if we just left?
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere.
I have no more questions.
About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
It's one of those really annoying options that stays there even though you've asked everything about it. So how'd you become a Grey Warden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
Haha, very funny.
I do my best. What can I say? Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
You don't seem like the religious sort.
You're telling me I was banished to the kitchens to scour the pots more times than I can count. And that's a lot. I can count pretty high. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
You think Duncan took pity on you?
I don't know. Maybe. When he came looking for recruits, I just remember praying fervently to the Maker that he would pick me. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have.
He was a good man.
He was. A good man who didn't deserve his fate. That much I'm sure of. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking. What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
You said Arl Eamon raised you?
Oh, did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact.
Really? That must have been tough for them.
Well, they were flying dogs, you see. Surprisingly strict parents, too. And devout Andrastians to boot.
That's what they say about Anders. And these dogs sold you the Chantry, I take it.
Oh, there you go, listening to me again. You'd think you'd have gotten past that already. I ended up in the Chantry, sure, but I didn't start there. Let's see, how do I explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Arl Eamon wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough.
Why'd he send you off to the Chantry?
Arl Eamon eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, the new Arlessa resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Arl didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10. Just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me.
What an awful thing to do to a child.
Maybe. She felt threatened by my presence, I can see that now. I can't say I blame her. She wondered if the rumors were true herself, I bet. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall and it shattered. Stupid, stupid thing to do. The Arl came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there, and blamed him for everything. And eventually...
And you think the Arl will help us?
I think so, yes. This news we've heard about him being sick disturbs me, though. I wonder if we won't discover that Loghain has come to the same conclusion as we have. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Alright.
What do you need?
I think I might have asked
Ask away.
everything. Why have you remained a Templar if you hate the Chantry?
Have you seen the uniform? It's not only stylish, but well made. I'm a sucker for good tailoring.
Oh, I don't think you've ever seen you wearing it.
I keep it hidden under my pillow. Sometimes I'll take it out just so I can hug it fondly and remember the good old days. Brings a tear to the eyes, you know.
Do all Templars make these jokes, or is it just you?
Oh, you know, between all the guilt and the hours spent in solemn prayer, any good Templar or priest is just bursting to tell a few good jokes when the opportunity arises. You don't really want to know about my being a Templar, do you? It's really quite boring.
You don't have to tell me then, I was just curious.
Then let's just get back to what we were doing. No offense, but I'd really rather not discuss it.
Ooh, okay. Let's talk to Liliana.
Yes?
Wow, 20 minutes in and we've talked to 2 people. I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
This vision of yours.
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in.
Why say it's a vision?
I have had dreams. This was different somehow. When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rosebush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
And this made you want to help me?
In my dream, I fell. Or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the Blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
The Chantry says the Maker has left us.
He's still here. I hear him in the wind and the waves. I feel him in the sunlight that warms my skin. I know what the Chantry says about the Maker, and what should I believe? What I feel in my heart, or what others tell me?
Believe what feels right to you.
Thank you. It's nice to find someone who agrees. I know what I know, and no one will ever make that untrue. Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
What was life like in the Chantry cloister?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
Yes, they tend to be self-righteous.
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world, they treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
I prefer your ideas to the ideas of the Chantry.
Thank you. Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men, not the Chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now. Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
What would someone like you be doing in Lothering's Chantry?
What is meant by someone like me?
You just don't seem to belong to... I don't want to flirt with her. They don't teach you how to fight in a cloister, do they?
Did you think I was always a cloistered sister? The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed.
Affirmed?
We affirm our belief in the Maker, in Andraste and the chant, but other than that, there are no vows taken.
So your skills were learned before the chantry?
I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on. Yes? Well, here I am.
You were a traveling minstrel. Do you have any tales to share?
Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
I think I'm gonna go through these next time with her. They just take forever and they're just a bunch of stories. But I'm sure the next time we talk to the companions, it won't be nearly as long.
What do you wish of me?
I'd like to speak to you about something.
If you must.
How'd you become a shape changer?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
Your mother's been doing this for a long time then?
Changing her form, certainly. Devouring lost children, I cannot say. She has not done it in my experience, though in truth my lifespan is but a fraction of her own. Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can you change into other humans?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
Can anyone become a shape changer?
Anyone with sufficient will. But the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. If you had a notion to learn such a skill for yourself, sadly, you must remain disappointed.
Do you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
And what do animals think of you when you're changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
Never heard of magic like that before?
No, 'tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could, but as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
By practitioners, you mean apostates?
Not all apostates use the forbidden blood arts. Maleficarum do, but to condemn all who do not fall under the circle's thrall for the sake of what might be is a dangerous path to walk. There are those who look on the word apostate as meaning freedom.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
I think your abilities sound quite useful.
A most practical opinion. Far more so than any man I have spoken to. But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us. What do you wish of me?
Like to ask you something.
If you must.
Did you grow up in the wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
You could if you wanted.
Oh, what luck. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
And you remained
For
unnoticed?
the most part. Flemeth taught me well. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Forget how she takes the top one. You must have looked quite the fool.
I think not. I am no frail flower wilting at the first heat. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped and began shouting in his strange language. Most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
That's quick thinking.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
Touching like a handshake?
To begin with, yes. What is the point of touching my hand? I find it an offensive intrusion. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Yet here you are.
Yes, here I am. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
Could have been worse.
What do you wish of me?
Like to ask you something.
If you must.
Have you ever been hunted by the Chantry?
My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
I feel sorry for the Templars.
They came with as much swagger and arrogance as they did self-righteousness. Pity them if you wish, for they held none for us. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Surely more would have followed.
Sometimes. Eventually. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
They got what they deserved.
Perhaps they did. Still, I do not begrudge them doing what they believe is necessary. The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the Circle of Magi as apostates, and apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true, still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit.
If I were a mage, I might think the same.
Thank you for small favors, then, at the very least. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
Okay.
What do you wish of me?
I forget if the only question this one is, would you leave? And it doesn't really give you a back
We are in
out.
camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
Never mind.
What do you wish of me?
Like to ask you something.
If you must.
Is Flemeth really what she seems to be?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
A powerful Maleficar?
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
I've heard little of it.
No doubt such a tale has mutated much over time and telling. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
Alright, sounds interesting.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Just how long ago is this?
Many centuries, before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
He sold his wife to another
The
man?
life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conabar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
She truly loved Osen then?
That was not the point. Conabar had no honor, so she would not have him. Flemeth begged the spirits to aid her, and 'twas they who slew Conabar. The demon the legend tells of came later. Lord Conabar's allies chased Flemeth, you see, chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Which she never invaded or he never defeated her?
The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
That's an interesting story, thank you.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but You are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious, nevertheless.
My mother died recently.
Ah, then you have my sympathies, for what it is worth. Which is very little, I am certain. It matters not. Let us move on. What do you wish of me? If you must.
Yeah, okay. So now we just have the dog left, thankfully. And the companion chatting videos are not going to be this long again because we've gotten the bulk of our companions, and when you first meet them, they always have more to say.
Oh, why, you little...
Are you harassing? No, did you just jump at the sight of your own shadow again?
Oh, you're so funny. Such rapier wit. Your furry friend here took offence at me getting near his food. He snapped at me, look.
There's hardly any blood drawn, still he shouldn't have.
Sometimes I forget that he's a war dog. That'll teach me. I once heard a really old legend about how the hound warriors in the days of the old tribes would feed their Mabari the flesh of the vanquished. Well, that's what I heard anyway. It would sometimes be human flesh. Oh, like you can tell the difference. For all you know, maybe you've already been fed something. Someone.
I'd never feed you another human being.
It's not cannibalism if he's eating it, you know.
Look at what your fool dog placed in my pack. A putrid, half-eaten hare is not something a woman wants to find in her unmentionables.
It's a thought that counts.
The dirty mongrel can have this back. There. And tell him not to do it again.
It was a gift, you can't just throw it away like that.
I just did. I don't want it, you worthless fur bag.
That dog is too smart for his own good.
He is certainly manipulative, I can tell. I do it too.
Watch Sten and TJ.
You are a true warrior and worthy of respect.
Trying to find a way through the earth, are we? It's going to take some time, you know. Well, good luck with that then. Well, I figured TJ was a good person to leave off with. Next time this won't be nearly as long, hopefully half as long. Well, I say that, but I think there's three other companions we can get. So I will see you here the next time we have to do one of these videos.